Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unanswered Questions. Sometimes during our live broadcast to schools, we get so many questions, we don't get enough time to answer them all.
All the time. We get so many questions.
Quite a lot.
Yeah, we do.
So we're going to answer some of the top upvoted questions that we didn't get to from the school students that we presented to. First question. Do you play or like video games?
You go first.
I think I'm probably more in that category than you are.
Well, hold on a second here. I play primarily a video game.
Okay, fair.
Right? Like
Yes.
World of Tanks. World of Tanks. But you are definitely the gamer.
Yeah, that's definitely more what I do. So yes, I do play and I do enjoy.
Yeah.
That's usually what I prefer. If I want to spend time to relax, would I watch a movie or play a game? I'm probably going to want to play a game.
Again, I mean, the one that I play all the time is World of Tanks because I'm a boomer. But you introduced me to this new one that you got on Steam called Door Kicker.
Yeah, door kickers, yeah.
That's actually a pretty cool. I'm kind of getting used to the strategies and what buttons to push and that kind of stuff, but I'm digging it.
Yeah.
I'm digging it.
I thought you would.
Yeah.
Speaking of, what is your favorite video game?
Well, if you're looking at genres, like when I was growing up, my favorite was Asteroid. Remember that game? Many years ago. Today, World of War Tanks. World of War Tanks. Yours?
For me, all time, I think the top two would be probably Dragon Age Origins or probably Fallout New Vegas. Probably those are my top two.
If you ask Mom, what would she say?
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man. Yeah, Pac-Man. Yeah.
Do you like Minecraft?
Oh, that's your question because I don't play it.
Yeah, I've played it. I played it when it was in beta. I've run some servers for some friends in the past.
Yeah,
So,
yep.
I do enjoy Minecraft. Although I'm kind of getting tired of it. I'm preferring more like voxel-based games, like things like Enshrouded. I'm liking
What kind of games?
Voxel.
What are those?
Basically, like the objects that are constructible or destructible, they're kind of more 3D rendered. They're kind of more, they're not as blocky.
Okay, gotcha.
In a way, yeah. That I'm kind of preferring where technology has grown from the good old classic.
Maybe Minecraft will kind of morph into that as well.
Well, they launched a new graphics update for it, but the foundations of being blocky, I can't really change a whole lot.
That's kind of their branding, right?
Yeah, and that's how the entire game is built. So I don't know, maybe they'll do a Minecraft 2 in the future, and they'll have more 3D instead of blocks. We'll see.
Gotcha.
What is your favorite sport?
Basketball.
Do I have a favorite sport? Ooh, I don't know. I don't know.
Video games. Video games is a sport now.
Yes, I'm not much of the traditional sort of physical sports type person. I like more of the strategic, mental sort of sports.
But I mean, e-gaming is become a sport. I mean, it's a big money sport. They expect that e-gaming will bring in more money than the NFL will.
Yeah, true.
Right? Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess people didn't like when they made chess a sport, but
That's true.
It
That's true.
It predates video games,
Yeah.
so yeah. Should young people use social media?
I think it depends upon the type of social media. I mean, a really good example, most social media platforms, you need to be 13 or older according to their terms of service.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are other social media platforms out there, like Kinzu is a good example, that were specifically designed for younger teens, those who are under the age of 15, including those under the age of 13. So I guess it really depends upon what social media platform you're using and what it's designed for and their terms of service.
Yeah, and what you're using it for.
Exactly.
Yeah. What is the appropriate age for platforms like TikTok?
I'll take that one. We actually recommend that TikTok really shouldn't be for those under the age of 16, just because their algorithm is very specific. And sometimes the algorithms on TikTok can take you down these deep, dark holes. Now, having said that, since the controversy over TikTok in the United States about them wanting to ban, it's interesting. We haven't heard anything more.
It's coming back
right?
up.
I know.
Isn't there by the time this video goes live, maybe there'll be a discussion in the U.S.
But what's interesting, is to see how TikTok almost every week now is rolling out new protection and parental controls and kid controls on their platform to try to minimize some of the issues. Now, I mean, the proof is always going to be in the pudding. We're going to have to wait to see what it does. But, at this point in time, I still recommend TikTok is not for those under the age of 16. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about TikTok is because you're just bombarded with so much content every couple seconds that there's just a more likelihood you may come across something you may not find appropriate.
And then once you click on it, the algorithm captures you and it starts sending you more videos like
See,
that.
things like with YouTube, yes, there is a suggested sort of For You page, but normally, you actively subscribe to creators that you want to see, and the content's a bit longer, and you're actively more engaging with it rather than YouTube is pushing it to you.
Now, I'm not saying that there isn't cool content on there. Like I was watching some cat videos the other day, right? I mean, pretty cool stuff, something that's going on. But the likelihood of you coming across something that is totally inappropriate is very great on TikTok. And again, once you click on those videos, either by intention or by mistake, the algorithm will start to feed you more videos like that because it assumes that that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, because if you come across something that's shocking in a video, you're going to spend maybe a couple more milliseconds on that video because you're trying to process what you're seeing. And because of that, the algorithm takes that and it goes, oh, you're spending more time on this video that's more shocking, so we're going to push you more of that. It's not really interpreting, this is something you want to watch. It's seeing that you're spending more time because you're processing. So it's kind of, other platforms can be a bit different. What is your opinion on kids who are on social media who are under the age of 13?
Well, again, it depends upon what that social media platform is. Like Kinzo, you can be under 13. However, if you're on a platform that says you have to be 13, good example, Instagram, most of them, right? And you're on it, you're violating their terms of service. And if somebody lets them know that you're doing it, they'll nuke your social media platform on that site, right? Like they'll nuke your account. So now it might be different if you're with your parent while you're doing it. Right? Like if you're sitting down with your parent going through social media platforms where you have to be 13, that's totally different because there's curation going on. There's digital shepherding going on. Your parents acting like a digital sheepdog, basically. That's different. But for those who are 13 and under on platforms where you have to be 13, I'm a stickler to the terms of service, right? So
yeah. Would it be appropriate for someone in grade 6 to have and use ChatGPT?
It's interesting. I'm actually writing an article on that very issue right now that'll be up on our website probably by the time this thing gets posted. And most of the major ChatGPTs, you have to be, I think it's 16 years of age in order for it to be used. That's why a lot of elementary schools and middle schools and even some high schools, depending upon the age of the students, can't use like ChatGPT and some of the others within the classroom because it would be a clear violation of their terms of service. So at this point in time, for those who are in grade 6, I don't think that ChatGPT and some of these other AI platforms are necessarily the place to go. Now, they're growing by leaps and bounds right now, so things could change in the next little while. But I think those in grade 6 and under, I don't think ChatGPT or some of these other AI generating programs are necessarily in the child's best interest at this point in time. Again, things could change down the road, but that's how I feel. Now, for students who are in grades 8 and above, a little different, right? But again, using any kind of an AI platform within a school, because like ChatGPT, you have to be, I'm pretty sure it's 16, totally different, right? Like you have to go within what the rules say.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Next question. Now, this question was earlier in March. So can group chats get leaked? Yes, they can get leaked on any platform, depending on how secure it may seem. Signal.
Current events, right? Current events.
Yeah, this question was not following recent leaks in the United States. This is a question previous to that. So I think now we have really good examples that we can now give to classrooms going here. Nothing is ever private, even at high levels of government.
Yeah. And there's been a couple, good point. I think they're calling it Signalgate in the United States right now. But I mean, we use other examples, like in our high school presentation, we give examples where NHL professionals who were involved in group chats that they thought were private, some of the frenemies that were on that chat ended up screen capturing some of the comments that were being made that went public. And as a result of that, one hockey player in particular at the NHL level lost his contract as a result of that. I mean, that's why no matter what the platform, no matter what your security or privacy settings, you need to understand that once you hit that send button, what you've posted can become public, permanent, searchable, exploitable, copyable, shareable. And yes, indeed, it's being sold to the advantage of these social media platforms.
And who's in your group chat?
And who's in your group chat? Signal.
Signal's a great app, but human error is thus where
use it what it's intended for, right? Like it was never intended to be discussed for high level government operations that are being conducted, right?
All right.
Next
Question. Why would someone send a nude?
It's interesting because I asked teens that very question, and what was really cool is they gave us open and honest answers. I find that a lot of teens that send nudes, and we've seen nudes as early as grade 4 being sent, right? Like at those ages, it's more about attention-seeking behavior. Look at me, look at me, look at me. However, at the high school level, it's more about relationship building, right? Where they're looking to get involved in long-term relationships, and then they share them within the relationships as a part of the relationship growth. We've seen some teens sending nudes as a way to make money. Really good. So sugaring is a good example where we met a teen who was selling nudes in order to get money so that they could buy nicking for their vaping, because that can get quite expensive. So they needed the nic juices. So how do they do that? They turned to sugaring, selling nudes for money. So there's a whole variety of different reasons, but I think the vast majority, and I think you can comment on this from the research you've done, a lot of the nudes that are sent within the context of a relationship.
Yeah, like close to 98% of all nudes, that's the context behind them. I mean, if you want to reframe the question, why would anyone be physically intimate with another person, right? The same reasons for that can apply for sending digital nudes as well.
Yeah, good point.
It's not that far of a leap, and actually research has shown that if you're already physically intimate with somebody, it's not that hard of a leap. It's more likely that they're going to be digitally intimate as well.
Yeah.
So,
good point.
Is it illegal to send or have nudes under the age of 18?
So I'll take that one, and then you can build upon it, right?
Depends. I guess there's a couple ways that we can interpret that. It could be if you're under age of 18, you have nudes on your phone, or if you're under 18 and you are.
Yeah. So caveat right up front, depends upon the country you're in, to the answer I'm about to give. Here in Canada, if it's two teens under the age of 18 in a private consensual relationship that is not exploitive in nature and the pictures or videos are being shared within that relationship, Supreme Court of Canada said not illegal. However, if anybody takes that picture or video and sends it or shows it outside of the relationship, it now becomes illegal. Same thing when it comes to the possession of nudes. Like we've heard some teens being told by some others in our country that having a nude on your phone, including a nude of yourself, is illegal. You're producing child and possessing child sexual abuse material, commonly known as child pornography. Again, Supreme Court of Canada said nay, nay, nay. Again, that is not in fact true. Now that could differ in the states, where most states it is illegal to either send or possess a nude picture of somebody under the age of 18. There's some exceptions, like Washington State kind of follows very closely to what we do up here in Canada, but that's kind of what the legalities say of it. Anything to add to that?
No, that covers most of it. It depends on where you live. You have to follow, depends on your local rules and laws on the matter.
Right.
And well, if you're traveling across state lines or across countries, what might be legal on your phone in your country might be illegal in the country that you're going to.
Absolutely.
So keep that in mind as well.
Absolutely.
Question. Can I open an OnlyFans at 16? Well, okay, couple. So OnlyFans as a platform, their terms of service is 18 plus. Now, yes, I think most people refer to OnlyFans as like the nude sharing platform. It's not only just, nudes that people send and share.
Musicians?
Yeah.
Musicians, sorry.
Yeah.
Musicians. They use it. I mean, but
I think there's definitely,
I think that what they're probably talking about here is issues like sugaring, feet pictures, nudes and that kind of stuff.
So the TOS is 18, and I believe during sign up you have to submit your ID as well and such. So it's their TOS is 18 plus.
Now, are teens finding creative ways to get around the 18 plus? Sure they are, but the TOS, like Brandon said, is you have to be 18. You have to be an adult.
Is it illegal if I'm 18 and my boyfriend is 17? That depends on where you live and the laws that apply to you in your region. Most places here in North America, they have laws that basically say, yeah, that's allowed. I think they often call it Romeo and Juliet laws, typically is what those are referred to as. Some places here in Canada, we have a
age of consent.
We have a tiered sort of system.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, so it depends upon the country in which you come from. But in most cases, the answer to that question, no, probably not illegal.
But do check your local laws on the matter, especially as laws are changing all across North America quite quickly, depending on whoever's in power and writing laws. So what might be legal today might be legal tomorrow. So you do want to keep appraised to that. Can I trust who I am sending a nude to?
The answer to that question is no.
I guess
because your friend today could be your friend and me tomorrow. Having said that, the research shows us that most of the time these nudes aren't shared with others. I mean, Media Smarts did some research where they found that I think it was 32% or 34% of nudes that are sent don't stay private, they go public. But the reality is, as soon as you hit that send button, there's no pulling it back, right? And so
trust is an interesting term. I mean, I always like to refer to, nudes to like being physically intimate. Can you trust anyone who you're being physically intimate with? Well, I guess, it's part of the relationship building, right? There's definitely more people who'd be more trustworthy than others.
Yeah, I mean, another way that I answer is sending nudes always dangerous? The honest answer to that question is no. However, is sending nudes always risky? The answer to that question is absolutely, right? So,
is YouTube bad if you don't post anything? So you're just using it like a Netflix? You're just kind of just streaming content?
Go for it, dude.
No, I mean, it depends on what you're streaming. If you're watching videos that are inappropriate or videos teaching you how to do illegal content, I don't know, right? It depends. By itself, no, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. And, YouTube is, it's tracking what you're watching.
I mean, a lot of what you learn to do around the house, like I'm not a handyman in any way, but you learn to do everything by YouTube, don't you?
Yeah, come on. Who doesn't go to YouTube at some point because something's broken? They got to fix something. Go to YouTube. They watch someone going, "Welcome to my channel. Like and subscribe. Here's how you fix your sink."
And you do it all the time, right?
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. It's expensive to hire somebody.
I mean, I'm going to answer this way to the following 4 questions. It's not the platform; it's how you use the platform that makes it good or bad, right?
Is Reddit bad?
Go for it.
Not inherently. Sure. Are there conversations that are inappropriate and probably conversations you probably shouldn't be getting involved with?
Especially in some of the subreddits.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, sure. There is. I mean, are there some videos on YouTube you probably shouldn't go to? Yeah, it depends. If you're using Reddit in a proper, legitimate, reasonable way, then there's nothing inherently wrong with the platform.
I mean, a really good example of using it in a positive way, I had a call from a teen in Texas who connected with us looking for help because they were targeted for sextortion. And I went, "You're in Texas?" They went, "Yeah." I said, "How'd you hear about us?" "Reddit." Somebody was talking about us on Reddit and saying how much we can help young people. So they read about it and they connected with us. I mean, how cool is that? Again, It's not the platform. It's how people use the platform that make it good or bad.
Yeah. Is Pinterest bad? Not inherently. I mean, I would say most people.
It's like I'm pulling a string. You're giving the same answer every time because it's true.
It's true.
It's true.
It's true. It's. We've seen bad things on every platform.
Even the Bible app. Yeah. Even the Bible app. There were things going on in the Bible app where people were talking about things that shouldn't be spoken about with regards to sexuality, right? Like it's any app, right?
Yeah. Question is, how is Discord bad?
Ooh, this is a good question, right? Because you have a Discord server. You're a mod too, aren't you?
I admin a few servers for some friends.
Yeah.
And Discord. I'm a big fan of Discord. It's a lot. It's great. It's kind of like the old school internet, kind of like forums.
You don't get any advertisements, right?
Yeah, there's like a little ad usually in the bottom corner. Yeah. Usually it's for the like Pro Nitro feature.
Right. What's Nitro?
It's their premium. You can upload more files. You have more. It's just extra bonus features you can use as a user.
A type of cache? Because I've heard.
It's their. It's like Netflix Premium.
Gotcha.
It's like just a subscription that you get extra features for.
Gotcha.
But most people don't use Nitro, and no, it's great. It's kind of a lot of people use it like Facebook, but without ads, which is great.
And it's a little bit more private too, from what I understand, right? Like kids. Instead of having discussions on places like Instagram or on Snapchat, they'll head over to Discord to do it in their own servers, right?
Yeah, nothing in Discord is encrypted or private, and
that's the other
Discord. The Discord when Discord and all the other major social platforms are brought in front of Congress, Discord says, we don't encrypt anything. So all these other platforms encrypt messages, we don't. So if don't look at us, we comply with police and legal requests for data. So nothing is private. Now, the thing about Discord, I think the challenge with it is there's not a lot of filtering.
Yeah.
So, which can be good or bad depending on how you view free speech and expression, where on many social platforms, there's certain things you can't say.
Yeah.
Even when we do this video, because we talk about nudes, we can't be monetized.
Right.
And because YouTube's like, oh, even though it's educational, yeah, there's certain things you can't say and do.
Yeah.
And some people don't like the certain filters. With Discord, you as a user, as a group, or as the moderator, or as the admin, you have to set up the filters, and you kind of have to manually filter. There are some like bots you can add in to kind of does automatic filtering for you, but by default, there isn't a lot of filtering.
Because there's a lot of brutal Discord servers out there.
Oh, yeah,
like
most
not for those under the age of 18.
Oh, yeah, most certainly. Yeah. But then again, there are terrible subreddits, there are terrible Facebook pages.
As you would say, fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. So by default, there isn't a whole lot of moderation by default. You have to join a server that has a good moderation team in place.
And isn't it important for teens, if they're going to set up a Discord, to have their own Discord server so that they can control who's coming in and who's participating in that server?
Yeah, different friend groups have their own smaller Discord server for the friends they know and trust. And, you're likely going to not receive as many horrible, evil messages.
But just understand that even if you're using those private Discords with your friends, just remember it's not private. Listen, like we said earlier, there could still be a frenemy within that group who could copy what it is you're doing and post it publicly. Well, we've seen that.
Even in encrypted apps. Signal. There could be someone there who you may not want.
Signal gate. Dun, da, da, da.
Can personal data be tracked through apps and games?
Yes.
Oh, of course. You betcha. Yeah, most certainly. Are texts able to be tracked?
Yes.
Yeah. Typically,
in most cases,
you need a warrant for that kind of thing. But yeah, when you send a text from your phone to a friend, it goes to a server basically that handles the messages and forwards it on. So there's a middle person, an organization, your cell company that handles all those texts.
There are ways that some people can go about ghosting and making it a little bit harder, but in most cases, yes, it can be tracked.
Could you be tracked using a gaming console? Yeah.
Yeah.
Gaming consoles are just a computer that's more specialized.
And like it or not, you have to connect to the internet. And as soon as you do that, there's an IP address, right? So.
Yeah. IP address, your history, things you do, things you say. Yeah. All that stuff. Yeah. Is Snap location really private?
No.
Well, if you're using Snap Location and using Snap Maps where your friends get to see where you are, well, then clearly that's not private. Snapchat does geolocate and target you where you're located and track you and follow you if you turn on your location for Snapchat. So
I just posted on our Facebook page today the issue of Google Maps is now using any pictures you're taking as a form to locate where you are in the world, even though you may not be saying it. And then they will produce maybe a tourist map on the location of places that you want to go. And that's kind of scary when you think about it, right? Because what they're doing now is any picture loaded is uploaded into their cloud, and now they're scanning it. And so what we don't know yet is, are they scanning all pictures going in there? And if they are, what kind of data are they collecting, right? That's kind of what's scary.
Is it safer to use browsers when logged out? So I think on Chrome, right? You can log into your Google account on Chrome.
I see what they mean there.
So you can sync all your history and all your tabs and all your bookmarks across devices. Is it safe? I guess it depends on what you're looking to protect against. Safer. When I think safer, I think against hackers and scammers. So is it safer when logged out? I guess technically, because if someone gets into one of your devices and they mess with your browser, and then whatever they change would then, affect your other browser on your other computer. In terms of privacy, well, then, yeah, if you log in with your Google account on Chrome, then so much more data is being collected about you. But there's a really good case for convenience when it comes to having everything synced and logged in, and you can track your history. Maybe you search something on your phone, and a month later you think, oh, what did I see on the website the other day or last month? And you go to your history, you can find it because all your devices are synced. Mm-hmm. So there's pros and cons to convenience and safety. But in terms of, the likelihood of some hacker getting in, very unlikely unless you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing. But privacy would be the bigger issue.
I agree.
Why do apps ask for photos and locations.
It's all about the data, baby.
It is. Well, right? Yeah, it is. And smartphone makers, Apple and Android platforms and whatnot, they recognize the importance to provide their users privacy. So it's actually the phone developers who actually put those blocks. So if that wasn't available, I'm sure all these apps would just automatically access all the information on our phones. So it's your phone developer who actually put those blocks up to go, hey, do you really want this app to know everywhere you go? Do you really want this app to have access to your photos?
Yeah, it's somewhat of a gatekeeper, right?
It is. Yeah. So it's not really the apps. Well, yes, the apps ask because they have to, because your phone requires that. If I play a safe game, not quite sure what that means, can I still be hacked? I guess a safe game would be something you play as a single player game that's offline, doesn't connect to the internet, a single player experience. Can you still be hacked? Probably far less likely. I mean, if you're downloading a single player game from a website known for sharing viruses, then that's probably not a safe game. But you download a game, maybe you have a disc game, you plug it in, and
you're not connecting to the internet.
Yeah, you're probably not. I mean, anything's possible, but probably far less likely.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this work?
I'll answer. For me, it's been about 25 years.
About 15-ish for me. It depends on when you start. It depends on when you classify when I started, because, you know, you were teaching safety, just like physical safety, when I was in late middle school.
Yes.
And I was learning about hackers and scammers, and I was basically data dumping all my knowledge to you, which you then presented in terms of a presentation. So, you know, I really kind of started before that, but I think on paper, I think it's like 15-ish years.
Yeah, for me, about 25.
Yeah. What got you into online safety?
Well, I'll answer first. For me, it's two reasons. Number one, because of my career in law enforcement, we started to see a lot of issues starting to appear online. And number two, you, right? As you were born and you were growing, you were the first generation to be brought up in today's what we call on-life world, where there's very little separation between online and offline. So as a result of that, I became very interested because of you.
Yeah.
Those are my two reasons. How about you?
Yeah, well, I'm a tech nerd. So tech nerd, like helping people. So combined together makes sense that this is what I do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Should TikTok and Instagram Reels be banned? No, I mean, anything bad on TikTok, we would find on any other platform.
Yeah. Again, it depends upon the content.
Yeah.
Right? Like if it's self-harming content or some of that other stuff, the answer is yes. And in fact, when a lot of those types of videos are reported to TikTok, Instagram, or any of these other sites, in most cases, they do take action. But again, I think it comes down to the content of those reels, right? Or TikTok videos or YouTube videos or any other thing that is posted online.
Yeah. But the app itself, I don't see any particular reason, because the apps itself are just a tool.
Right.
Yeah. Do you think TikTok should have stayed banned? No?
I don't think so.
No, I mean, if anything that was a concern on TikTok, because you would ban it, all that content would just move elsewhere. It would go to YouTube. It would go to Reddit. It would go to other places. So
Instagram Reels.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't see why there's a huge... Well, I think I know why people are so focused on TikTok, but it's...
I do think that the companies need to be held more accountable for the content that they have.
But they're not. But they're legally not liable to the content of the users.
That's why the laws need to change, right?
But that would fundamentally change the internet. And there's no way you can 100%. You would have to have a person review every message every user posts.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you and I will disagree, and that's okay. I still think that these companies who are knowingly allowing some of this material to be posted online, i.e. child sexual abuse material, should be held accountable for that. Like there is a duty and there is an ethical responsibility, and just to ignore it, knowing that it is happening on their platforms, is totally like not on.
So we're demanding that for companies, but yet when our publicly funded law enforcement agencies, when there's an internet-based issue, some of them go, nothing we can do about it. Yeah, someone broke the law on the internet. We're not going to investigate it.
But that's changing, right? Like we're seeing changes in the law enforcement now, no longer saying there's nothing we can do. Now, are there times where there is nothing they can do? Sure. However, we are seeing a seismic shift now in law enforcement in most countries, not all, that are taking more action to deal with these types of issues, right?
Shouldn't we lead by example? If we're expecting 100% perfection from these social media companies to be responsible for what their users are posting, shouldn't we then expect law enforcement in those countries to expect 100% efficiency on investigating crimes about every citizen in their country?
I think that we can never guarantee 100%. However, if something is brought to the attention of a platform, whatever that platform is, i.e., here's a clear child sexual abuse material being posted, and you bring it to their attention and they do nothing about it, then there should be accountability.
Okay, now I'm more agreeable to that.
Right.
If they have a better, more streamlined reporting process, right. I think that's more reasonable.
Yes. Yeah.
Because how you phrased it earlier was they have to scan everything and review everything, but only when something's brought to their attention.
Right, but
then they take action.
I mean, a good example of this, Apple had in 2021 an ability to scan all pictures that on the device that go into the cloud looking for child sexual abuse material that has been hashed and identified by police. Like they had that technology, right? Where it would prevent the child sexual abuse material that has been hashed and identified as child sexual abuse material from being sent or being spread. And they decided not to go ahead with that because of privacy concerns where there were groups saying, hey, listen, doing that could result in certain governments maybe weaponizing that and using it to their advantage to target, say, the LGBTQ plus community in countries, i.e. like Russia is a good example, right? And I get that. However, if Apple is the one controlling it, well, then how does Russia have any say in that? How can they now abuse it if it's being run by Apple and contained within? I still think that there are definitely privacy issues associated with that, but I do think that there's certain criteria that we can put in place to help minimize those risks. Because again, nothing is ever 100% successful or guaranteed to work. If there was, you'd already have invented it and we'd be billionaires right now. But I do think that there is a responsibility to do more.
Yeah, fair.
That's just my opinion.
What can you do to avoid doom scrolling?
Oh, causing brain rot.
Having a set time limit.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think for a lot of people, just kind of the time they spend scrolling away just gets lost. So I think having a set time, maybe having an alarm set, having dedicated, this is my relaxation, vegging out time, it would be a good strategy.
Yeah. And there are apps out there now that you can download on your phone. If it sees that you've been on your phone for a certain amount of time, it'll give you a reminder to say, hey, now's the time to take a break, right?
Can my game accounts be hacked?
Yes.
It's possible. Most likely it will be somebody logging into your password, getting your password and login. Technically still a hack, and that's the most common type of hack. So if you have an online game, an online profile, make sure you have good account security. The chances of someone hacking into the servers, less likely. Can people steal info from games? Well, anything you put into an online game, anything you share in an online game can be captured and can be used. So I'd be cautious about what you're sharing. Can hackers listen via voice chats? Less likely.
Always possible.
It's possible, but not very likely. Can I get hacked if I get kicked from an app?
You see, the one question I have here, Brandon, is I think depending upon the age, when people think hacked, there's a difference between being hacked and maybe being doxxed, right? So what's the difference between the two?
I think it's good. Main question is information is just leaked about you. That's that's basically what doxing is.
Right?
And the two kind. I think the question's coming up later about doxing exactly is One type of doxing is you are gathering already publicly available information.
Right.
Like you dig up someone's old thesis and you're thinking maybe that they plagiarized it. Right. The thesis is publicly.
That sounds somewhat familiar, which happening in the Canadian elections right now for
right.
Prime Minister.
Right.
Kinda
So it's
like Signalgate in the United States.
Right. So you're taking public, well, Signal, yeah, a bit different, but you're taking something that's already publicly available and you're just kind of collecting all that information, building a profile, and then going, here's everything public about this person on the internet. Now, the other kind of doxing is when you are using hacking strategies where you actually break in, you get confidential private information that's not already public, you take that and leak that. Those are two different kinds of doxing, if you will. So the question was, can I get hacked if I get kicked from an app? So you do something on an app, you get banned from the app. Can you still get hacked? Probably not, because your account's banned. So I mean, how would the hacker get into it? If you can't get into it, they can't get into it. So probably
whatever you posted can still be doxed, right?
Yeah, potentially. What is your opinion on allowing phones in school?
I'm going to take that one. Again, it depends upon the grade level. I think the misunderstanding is that I can speak for Canada and most of the US as well, even Europe, because I converse with experts and fellow colleagues in all those countries, Australia as well. There's a real misunderstanding then when people, schools in British Columbia are banning cell phones. No, they're not. They restricted them. They still allow teachers to use them for pedagogical reasons, right? For educational reasons. However, on a bigger scale of things, I think for elementary schools, no, unless it's being used for medical purposes, right? Like diabetes or heart issues or something like that, or for learning, for ESL type of students, right? To help them with regards to learning and that kind of stuff at the elementary level. We can start to introduce phones at the, I believe, at the upper level, middle school and high school level. But do I believe that phones should be allowed to be used in a free range where the kids can do whatever they want on these phones? No, because there are issues surrounding distractions when that happens in classrooms. But do I think that phones can be strategically and intentionally used for pedagogical educational reasons? The answer is absolutely. And there's research out there to support that fact. The challenge that we had is that we, especially during COVID, we were all forced to move over to digital learning. And because of that fact, teachers just weren't prepared for that, right? Like they were thrown into the hot seat and they were learning as they were going as well. And so because of that fact, there were a lot of mistakes made. Like there were, and anybody who says differently is lying, right? And so, but have we learned from that? Sure we have. And are there some really good educators out there that have learned from those mistakes and turning to research to look at how do we use it intentionally in classrooms to help when it comes to education? Absolutely. And the reality is these phones are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. And what better place to teach kids how to use them than in the classrooms? Age appropriate and for the appropriate intentional reasons of pedagogical educational purposes. How's that? How was that for a sermon?
That's good. If we're looking at education and potentially, defunding or losing a Department of Education and even more defunding, when a student has a phone in class and they can use it for, learning purposes, that's probably a more better tool than a 15-year-old desktop that was bought secondhand.
Again, we just wrote an article on this. It's on our website. It's on our Facebook page where last week there was a huge push internationally about banning not just cell phones, but also laptops in all schools, primary, middle school, and high schools. And when you look at the references that these groups use with regards to research, a lot of it is dated and not being updated. And what's really interesting is that they're providing these toolkits to give to parents to take to schools, to force schools to stop allowing kids using cell phones and laptops in classrooms. But yet what they're not doing is they're not fully disclosing contra research like that just came out in Great Britain last month that showed that these bans are having no effect whatsoever, right? So if we expect parents and educators to make educated decisions, then what we need to do is provide them with all the information so that they can make an informed decision. What I'm seeing right now, however, is that the playing field is being flooded with research that is anti without even identifying contra thoughts on the issue. So again, thus endeth my sermon.
Yeah. No, those are all fair remarks. Yeah, I think there's a perception that when people are talking about banning phones in school, that adults seem to think that all these kids are on their phones texting each other during class. That could, I mean, I don't think I've met a teacher that allows that. Now, can there be? Sure. Is the issue more with the teacher not managing their classroom properly?
Did I pass around secret notes when I was in high school, middle school, between students? Absolutely, I did. Right? Like, so it's again, I agree with you. Like, if the phones are being used in a free range, unmediated way, it's a problem.
Why is a teacher even allowing that in their classroom?
Right.
Like
that's a problem. However, but we get some educators who say it's not my job to police the use of technology in the classrooms, right? Well, to a degree, it is, right? Like if kids are doing something else that is disruptive to the classroom, do you take action? Sure you do. You just don't ignore it, because if there are no consequences, actions, there's no impetus for change. Now, I'm not a teacher. I don't pretend to be one, but we worked with hundreds and thousands of teachers across Canada and the United States and hundreds of thousands of students. And I agree with you. I think most teachers that get it are using it in a pedagogical, educational way, and one in which there are consequences, actions if students use them inappropriately. This has become a real polarized issue. Right? Like it really has. And so I think some people, and one of the things that we're doing as the White Hatters, we're pushing the other side of the equation here, right? So that people are getting all the information so that they can make an informed decision.
We'd probably making more money, be more popular if we were going, hey, this is all bad.
In
people
fact,
love that stuff.
You know what?
We'd be so much popular.
I know of some educators like us who did think like we think, but have changed their tone and their messaging, because right now that is the predominant belief that is being pushed internationally right now. It's all about the
money.
It's all about the money, right? And
about
so we as a company refuse to do that. We take an ethical approach to this topic where we share all the information so that people can make an informed decision.
Oh, I would love to.
Thus ends my third sermon.
I would love to make more money, but all the cooler things we could do in the studio because of that.
I know. It's just and do I understand why some of my colleagues have done that? Sure, because they need to survive as a company, right? Given what it is and how they do it. We take a different tact. And although what we say may not be politically correct based upon current beliefs, we look at it from an evidence-based approach. Let the evidence lead us to make decisions. That can change, right? Like we're not here to say, well, we're never going to change our position. We will if the evidence supports that.
And the reason and the logic.
Right. So
thus
endeth my fourth sermon.
We need to do a whole video on that by itself.
I know.
Maybe summertime.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, next question. Why do apps track us? Because well, sometimes they have to track you just to actually provide you the service. Sometimes
Google Maps.
Yeah, sometimes they track you in order to make sure their system's working properly. They want to be aware if there's ever issues. And then sometimes they track you to sell your data to make money.
I mean, a good example is how many times have you ever gone into your phone and searched "I'm hungry," looking for McDonald's, and then boop, all of a sudden it pops up on your map, the closest McDonald's to you, right? Because McDonald's buys time on these platforms so that when you search McDonald's, it'll pop up on your Google Maps or whatever map, so you'll go there.
Why do apps ask for your location or personal information? Well, in order to provide you the service and sometimes to track and sell that information. Will Google Maps track you even if you say no?
I think it does.
Well, it does. So Google Google had a couple lawsuits, like
$5 billion.
Yeah, I don't know how many years ago it was, but yeah, I think it was over Chrome. But even on Google Maps and location tracking, Google was able. This was like early days where Google was collecting location based on the routers you were connecting your Wi-Fi to your phone. Yeah, so there's so many different ways to get locations. So even if you say no, do not track me via a satellite, there are still other ways to get your location.
Mm-hmm.
Why do step counter and apps need permission?
Because that's what the legislation says. Trust me, if the legislation said they didn't have to do it, they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the reason why.
Sometimes legally they're required to, but often it's because your phone is looking after your privacy and is asking you, hey, do you really want this app to know all this medical information about you? Yes or no. So it's just making sure that you're okay with what's being collected. Why do apps track us?
We kind of already spoke about that, right?
Will not having social media affect job applications?
The answer to that is yes and no, right? Just because you don't have a social media presence doesn't mean you're less attractive. However, if you have a positive social media presence and you're using that to separate yourself from others, to show a potential employer, look at what I'm doing, look at how I act, look at what I do, look at how this could be a benefit to you as a company, it can work in your favor, right? Because you got to imagine that there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people applying for the job. So you want to stand out by showing past performance can dictate future behavior. And one of the ways to do that is through social media. Mm-hmm. Now, having said that, it can also work against you, right? So if you're doing things you shouldn't be doing online, then that too can have a negative effect. So it's all about leveraging social media for job opportunities. And there's ways you can go about doing that. And those are something that we talk about in one of the programs that we offer here at the White Hatter.
Are apps like Temu and AliExpress safe? I haven't seen anything particularly nefarious.
No, just understand that the stuff that you're ordering off of those sites may not necessarily be what you thought they were going to be.
Or at the quality that they're advertised.
And just understand as well that a lot of these companies are based in China, like some of our other stuff. And because of that, when you're sharing stuff like credit card information with them, you're sharing that information as well. Because like it or not, if it's an app that is owned by a Chinese company, by law, that company has to make all information they gather accessible to the Communist Party of China.
Yeah, but they're just buying it anyways from data brokers.
That's true.
It's like this whole thing about TikTok. It's like, well, Facebook just sells the data to anyone who wants to buy it. So it's like, what do you like?
Yeah. Just understand that the quality of stuff that you're getting from Temu and AliExpress may not be what you thought it was going to be.
Do you only operate on Vancouver Island? No, we will travel to organizations and schools across North America.
Or anywhere in the world, right? We'll travel.
Yeah. Although I think financially for most organizations and groups and schools, it's just easier for us to broadcast from a studio on Vancouver Island to them.
Yeah, like you did a live virtual presentation to a school in Singapore, I think it was, or Thailand. Yeah, Thailand.
Yeah.
Right? Like, can you imagine how much it would have cost them to fly you there?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the benefit of doing the live virtuals. And the other benefit to doing the live virtuals is we can do things live virtually on screen that we could never do on screen. Like, do our special effects work here? Like, I mean, we can make things like appear on the screen and we can create noises and stuff that you just can't do in a live presentation, right? And it's just way more cost effective and just as effective if done properly.
It's not a boring Zoom meeting.
No, it's not a boring Zoom or Teams meeting, right? That's not what we do.
Can political views affect scholarships?
Yes.
It can. It depends who the gatekeeper is. The person making the decision might be very politically minded and will find reasons not to give you the scholarship because they have different views than you.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we talk about in our leveraging social media for college, university, sport, and employment opportunities is stay away from political discussions, because in today's polarized environment, and very binary as well, it can get quite heated, right? And so just stay away from that stuff in your social media is my opinion.
Can messages to ChatGPT be recorded or tracked?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. OpenAI, anything you put into their AI, it's collecting and using and incorporating that in terms of their model.
Like we know businesses right now that are putting private visit information into ChatGPT to generate reports. Just understand that when you do that, that information is no longer private, right? ChatGPT and others. Same thing with kids. Like if you have a kid going, it's my 16th birthday today, create a picture of me blowing out candles on a cake. Well, you just told ChatGPT you're 16 years old, right? So again, yes, they're collecting that type of information.
Is doxing someone okay?
So this is, you talked about, I'll let you talk about these.
Well, That's a is it okay? If probably not from like a relationship standpoint and trying to be a nice, normal, decent person. So probably not okay. Now, is it legal or illegal? Again, it depends. If you're just collecting public information that's already available about someone from all these different online places and building a single profile, and you go, here's this person, everything I've ever found on them. I mean, it's publicly available information. So, I mean,
which segues into the next question, is that what are consequences of making online threats, right? Because if you're doxing somebody and then using it to threaten them, well, that now becomes illegal. Like in Canada, that's now called uttering a threat, intimidation, right? Like there's a couple of criminal charges that can take place in Canada and most other countries.
Yeah. What happens if you fall victim to a scam?
Yeah, it's tough. Like, depending upon what the scam is, like if it's cryptocurrency, are you getting it back? Good luck. If it's, say, for sextortion and you've now paid a ransom, depending upon when you connect with your bank, sometimes you can stop the payments from taking place. But it can get really hard. That, like, if you fell for a scam and there was some finances involved there, you've probably lost it, right?
Yeah, and it depends how big the scam was. If it's a couple $100, there's bigger fish to catch when it comes to law enforcement. There's not enough investigative resources to investigate every little cybercrime that happens. So if it's over $5,000, maybe you might get some support. But even then, that's going to be tough. Do you see that civil resolution case that was released a couple weeks ago?
No. We worked with them, right? We helped them create their platform and stuff.
Yeah, but this was in regards to someone who got frauded.
Oh.
And a company via WhatsApp, they sent money, and there was a man-in-the-middle attack.
Oh.
Someone intercepted the conversations, and the money was sent to the wrong person,
right,
to a scammer. And so the person tried to sue the company who was the real company,
right?
And the decision was, they're not liable. So, people think, well, if I get scammed because I'm talking to some company that I'm sending money to, and someone, breaks into that conversation, and
pretends to be them,
I can get my money back from the original corporation. The decision was no.
Yeah. I mean, but there are some exceptions to the rule. Like credit cards is a good example, right? Like if I'm using a credit card at a gas station and it's compromised by somebody else, in most cases, the credit card company will reimburse me that money if it was obtained by fraudulent means, right? So again, it depends.
Have you ever been scammed?
Yes, by Brandon when he wants to buy new equipment for the set. True?
No. No, because we get a return on investment.
Okay. All right. But I think they're talking about online scamming. Me personally, no.
No, not that I can recall. No. I mean, we have pretty good security protocols here in what we do.
Except when it's done by Brandon.
How do I deal with someone impersonating me?
Call them on it. And then if they're continuing to do that, it could be identity theft. Impersonation under the criminal code in Canada is another, again, context specific.
What happens if you use someone else's ID?
Well, illegal, right?
Yeah, I mean,
that's identity theft, right?
Yeah, if you're using it to get money,
fraud,
that would be money. Yeah,
right.
So yeah,
identity theft, fraud. Yeah. There's all kinds of things that can happen if you decide to use somebody else's ID for some form of an advantage, be it property, money, body, anything like that. So,
what social media platforms are actually safe?
I don't think there's any that you can say safe, but there are ones that are safer.
I get, for me, if
Kinzu.
If you're using a social platform and it allows you to block people, that's probably a better one.
Safer.
If you're using a social platform that allows you to make a report about someone doing something inappropriate, that's probably a better app.
Safer.
If you're using a social platform where you can make a private profile so your stuff isn't being shared with millions of other people in the world, then that's probably a better app.
Safer.
So, those are some really basic steps. If you're using apps that don't have those features, well, then you're probably going to receive messages. You're going to engage with things you're probably not going to appreciate.
And as we've always said, and I'm going to repeat myself, no matter what social media platform, no matter what messaging app, no matter what app you're using, no matter what your privacy settings, remember that as soon as you hit that send button, what you've posted can become public, permanent, searchable, exploitable, copyable, shareable, and yes, indeed, being sold to the financial advantage of big tech.
Yep. And those are the top unanswered questions from last month.
Some great questions.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And thank you to all the students who sent in those questions. And we look forward to continuing this when we get more questions from more students. We'll see you all again next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye for now.